Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Hey, and welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC Podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, I am podcasting on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSB. My Twitter handle, check me out there. Also, Put On Waivers _podcast. Put On Waivers _podcast. And you can see me on Instagram. And then also the audio version is back. So go to iTunes. Go to Stitcher. You know, whatever you use. You go to Spotify. People like they're using that as well. So go ahead and check out all those apps for our show as well. USC, Michigan, Trojans, Wolverines at the Los Angeles Coliseum. And I think, this is going to be, if kids are in the car, just turn the volume down. This is where Michigan wants to find out whether or not USC is a bitch program. I mean, there's no other way to do it. I've never seen a Michigan team in my entire life watching college football that has yapped off this much before a game. I mean, they have yapped off a lot. They really have yapped off a lot. From the head coach, Michigan's coming. That's the only reason why the game is sold out. We're not going there. We're not coming there for selfies. We're not coming there for whatever. It's and it's just number one, he's not. I mean, I like Shamar Moore as a head coach, but he's not Jim Harbaugh. So and if Ohio State starts beating you, then obviously that changes the whole dynamic of who you are. But as long as he keeps beating Ohio State, it'll be no issue there in Michigan. Offensive line coach talked about who's going to be tougher. They know they have a battle here with SC, and they're trying to do what they can to punk USC. Trying to bait them into not concentrating on the task at hand, but to go out there and make some mental mistakes because they're worried about other things besides football. And I think when Pete Carroll was with USC in the past and USC had those big teams back in the day, you couldn't punk them as far as the physicality goes. You couldn't move them around. You couldn't do those things. And so far, USC has been punked. They've been, mocked. How many times have we seen on Twitter, USC blew up the Pac-10 just to lose to Maryland, just to lose to Minnesota, just to lose to all these different teams. So it's kind of it's been an embarrassing situation for the program and for Lincoln Riley. Again, 4-11 against ranked opponents. Ever since he's been at USC. This is an opportunity with a bye week to kind of shut those critics up. And if he can't, then it is what it is. I mean, it's status quo, and USC got bitched out. You have to show that this is a big time program. We can talk about it to we're ad nauseum. We can say all these different things. He can kind of ride that 10-year contract and whatever. But at the end of the day, they have to be able to win games like this. What made Pete Carroll special when he was at USC, not with the Raiders, but when he was there, is that they won games like this. They need some, like I said, HD 4K, 8K highlights. Too many of the USC highlights are on grainy video, with Keith Jackson doing the games. It's just time for them to kind of grow up as a program. You hope they can. Until they actually see it after the loss to Illinois, until I actually see them actually do it, I can't say that they're going to do it against Michigan. The one thing about the Big Ten Conference is it's about a couple of things. The Big Ten Conference is about defense and doing the little things, doing the nasty work that people don't want to do, special teams, covering kicks. Making all your kicks, all these little things that USC doesn't do. That's been the hallmark of the Big Ten for all those years. Sometimes it's kind of boring. Like if you watched the Indiana-Iowa game last week, it was kind of boring. But Indiana went on the road and did what they had to do. They played sound defense. They scored just enough. They even took a safety at the end of the game to kind of piss off bettors, but that's, if you've been on football, you've been on football. That's on you. But they were able to win the game, and that's why that's why Kirk Cincinnati has that team going in the right direction. You saw the kind of the crazy man look of the Oregon coach after they beat Dan Lanning, after they beat Penn State at Penn State. Now they have to go ahead and beat Indiana, because Indiana is a team that is, Penn State lost to UCLA, so now that victory doesn't even look that good anymore. So it's just you see what it looks like in college football when you have a big time head coach who's ready for big time games, whose teams play really good defense and they do the small things. And even after the game against Illinois, I heard Lincoln Riley say, hey, they really didn't stop us. If you look at the game, they really didn't stop us. Well, they stopped you enough to win the game. I mean, you didn't get the 30 points until the fourth quarter. So they stopped you enough to win the game. And you may have only punted maybe a couple of times and you scored on a lot of your drives, but at the end of the day, it's not about just scoring, it's about just winning the game. It's about winning the game. And I think there's a reason probably why you've been a head coach for a long time and Coach Lynn hasn't been, because Coach Lynn has to be guided on the sideline by a head coach. You can't just turn the defense over to him. I mean, he needs to be able to, whatever front they were in last week, they can't be in that front for the whole game. Whatever personnel groupings they had on the line, whatever they were doing with the linebackers, you can't sit there and just watch an Illinois team that struggled all year to move the football and struggled all year to run the football, to just go ape shit on you, as far as that goes. Disappointing to say the least. But on the Michigan, like we were talking about before, like Michigan is going to run the football. They're going to dare you. They're going to challenge your manhood. They're going to hit players to the echo of the whistle. So you got to watch that. And they're going to try to bait you into personal fouls, all those other things. Because does anybody feel like, if you're a USC fan, do you feel really good about a close game against Michigan? You feel good about those officials making those plays? We also making those calls. We all saw Michigan last year, everybody making a big deal about Sherrod Moore on the sidelines, talking to the officials after that game was over and shaking their hands and, talking to them. The Big Ten knows that part of their survival is USC not being good. Because they know what it looks like when USC is USC. And they probably sit back and go back and laugh till the cows come home about, can you believe that Lincoln Riley has this much talent, this much NFL talent, and he still can't he can't beat Minnesota? He can't beat Maryland? And here comes Michigan. This is the perfect opponent for them to kind of expose. Michigan can be passed on. They gave a lot of big runs to Nebraska on the road when they played their last road game. This is not the old school smash mouth. They're a solid team. They're not like the typical. Like next year, this time, Michigan's going to be contending for a national championship. And then if they keep this team together for for the 3 years, then after year 3 they're going to be ridiculous to deal with. But right now, like if you're Dan Lynn, and if you're this highly touted defensive coordinator with a defense that has talent but has disappointing numbers, like you got to think that Jesus, you can't you brought in and you can't confuse Bryce Underwood. You can't when he's 17, 18 years old, you can't fool him. You can't fool him a little bit in this game. That's you're the highest paid. You negotiated your contract because you were quote unquote tempted or talked about, hey, I might go to my alma mater, Penn State, You better give me some more money. And they capitulated and gave you more money. I don't know if USC's offense is going to score 30 or 40 points in this game, but I think they're going to score enough to win the game. And I'm not giving Lincoln Riley any bail here. But at the end of the day, can you, as a defensive staff, this high-priced defensive staff that talked about all these different things, can they get stops? Can they get stops when they really need it? I mean, that's the biggest. Can they get stops when they need it? This is not like, a 4-wide receiver threw the ball on the field. They can pass it, though. Don't take it like they can't pass it. And USC doesn't have the best cornerbacks in the world, so hopefully they can get some help there and they can get a guy like Kamari Ramsey playing his natural position. That would be huge for SC to have that happen. But they're punking you. They're punking you. You handled the physical task of Penn State last year. Even though Notre Dame ran all over you, like you were at the 1 yard line, down 7, and you had opportunity to for some reason you didn't run the football there. You threw a jump pass into the corner of the end zone. I'm not sure what that was about, but it is what it is. But USC has ran the football more than they've run it this year. They have some really good running backs on this team. They can play physical football. We don't know the stats of Elijah Page, but this is supposed to be a really talented team that can really run the football. And this is the game that he's brought here to win. He's brought here from Oklahoma to win these games. All I hear is about he can't beat. He ran from the SEC. He ran all. I mean, this is big. This is tough, big boy football here. And nobody cares about style points. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. All they want to see is if you win this game 21-20, that would be amazing. It's just a victory. This conference is about victories. It's not about style points or selfies like Coach Moore said from Michigan. So the opportunity is there right in front of them, and I think the team hasn't collapsed under Lincoln Riley. They never collapsed under Lincoln Riley, but I think this could be a collapse if they lose this game, because then you got Notre Dame, then you got the bye week, and then you got Nebraska. I think you're looking at 7-5. They lose this game, they win this game, and all of a sudden you're sky high. You lick your wounds, you get ready to go to South Bend. But like Max Brown said, these next 3 games, this is his career. I said it once 1,000 times. You don't get to sit in the chair of a blue blood and lose repeatedly and keep your job. You just don't get to do that stuff. At some point, somebody's gonna say enough. They'll buy you out and go get somebody else to do the job. So if he wants to get to that next level of a head coach, and not just a coordinator, who can just who can come out here and design some really cool plays. All that stuff is nice. It's cool, but it's about winning games, bro. It's about winning games. And this is an opportunity for USC yet again to show that they are a new program. Otherwise, it's the same old Trojans. Talented, we'll put a bunch of receivers in the NFL, all this stuff like that, and then we'll look back on it and say, wow, they lost this game by 1 point. No, they lost 4 games by 1 point, and they missed the playoff. They lost a bunch of games last year where they had the lead in the fourth quarter, and missed the playoff because of it. The excuses are getting really, really thin. And the pressure is really, really, really ratcheted up here for Coach Riley. You got the best recruiting class in the nation coming in next year. A lot of recruits will be at this game. At some point, you have to grow and finish the job. And if you can't finish the job at this point, then what is the point? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Remember, Cohen didn't hire him. Bowden didn't hire him. The guy who hired him is long gone. So it's time for Lincoln Riley to just, don't get punked here. Get your players ready get your players ready for a dogfight. You got a huge dogfight coming up this week. I haven't even read anything much about the game besides doing my own research for the shows, because I just don't. I'm tired. When you have bye weeks like this and it's a big game, I don't want to hear any conversation about this, that, and the other. It's like, there's some football games you play, and this is like I said, I hate to say it like this, be this bluntly, but there's some football games that you play where you have to say to yourself, is your team, do you have a bitch team or do you have a real team? And Michigan is banking on the fact that USC is a bitch team, that they can push around, they can do things here and there to get flags, to get their goat, because they're not gonna have the discipline to win these games. They're gonna make the mistake. Back in the day, the Raiders used to have really good talent. Used to have really talented teams, and they would play Marty Schottenheimer. And Marty Schottenheimer, a lot of times he didn't have as much talent as the Raiders, but he told his team, if you just lean on them for 4 quarters, they will make a mistake. Just lean on them for 4 quarters, they'll make a mistake. I think that's what the Big Ten thinks about USC. Lean on them for 4 quarters, they will make a mistake, and they will lose the game. All those recruits, all those fans, you can't have the Wolverines walking off that field on a trip to Ann Arbor beating the Trojans if you're Lincoln Riley. It just can't happen. It can't happen. All right, Student Body Right USC Podcast. See you next time. Big game. It's Thursday, so don't have much time to waste here, or don't have much time to wait anymore for this ball game here. So it should be fun. All right, see you next time. Peace. Fight on.